in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
Reckless speculation.
You want reckless speculation?
You know this ain't gonna happen.
How about reckless trade speculation?
For the love of God!
Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday, everybody. Mackie and Judd here. Daily Minnesota sports entertainment, and we want titles. That's the mission statement of this show. Darren Doogie Wolfson from 5 Eyewitness News. You can also hear him on the Scoop podcast every single week. Inside information about your favorite local sports teams and the NBA aggregator website's favorite person to quote from that podcast this week.
This week, Doogie wins.
Dude, I love it. Like,
Broke
I mean,
internet.
what's funny is like you report things all the time, and you have all these big interviews, and you even said in the episode from a few days back, you're like, I'm probably bearing the lead on this, but I got a text message from somebody in the know, and I asked them how badly do the Wolves want Ben Simmons, and he said badly, and it's a great nugget. You know, you didn't portray it as like I talked to a general manager from another team. You floated it out there, and it's like the New York Post picked it up. Sixers blogs just like had a field day saying, "Oh, we can get rid of Ben Simmons. Here's 7 trades that matter." So. I guess your thoughts now after a few days of being through the aggregator news cycle, Doogie.
I mean, I feel the same as I did the other day, Phil. Good morning, by the way, gentlemen. Not only is it, happy reckless speculation day, happy name, image, likeness day. I just got off a Zoom with Abel Steveson, Gophers wrestler, who's leaving for Tokyo on July 17th. He signed an endorsement deal or is in the process of signing an endorsement deal with Go Puff. I know Tanner Morgan of the Gophers has an endorsement deal lined up, so that's one heck of a talker that I'll be attacking later on for the TV gig. But yeah, in terms of Ben Simmons, I feel the same as I did a few days ago, heck, as I did going back multiple months, that Gerson Rosas, others with the Wolves, are big-time fans of Ben Simmons, that if there is a way to facilitate a trade, the Wolves are at least going to explore every possibility. That's a 2-team trade. That's a 3-team trade with Sachin Gupta, the creator of the trade machine in the Wolves front office. If they can concoct some sort of 4-team trade, they will explore all possibilities. That doesn't mean that the Wolves are going to present Philadelphia the best offer. It's possible Portland, Washington, maybe New York, maybe New Orleans, maybe some other franchise is able to make a better offer, and Ben ends up somewhere else. But make no mistake about this. I feel very confidently about this, Phil, that the Wolves have trade interest in Ben Simmons.
Dukes, what's the potential timing here, too, then? Like, if there is going to be a trade involving Simmons, are we talking about short term here? Are we talking about a month out? Like, what's the most likely timing of a trade so that Philadelphia can field the offers and actually make a decision on trading him? Because I do think he gets moved. Like, I don't see how he goes back there. But there's some people that think it's going to happen very short term. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as the calendar is now flipped to July, like this month seems pretty darn logical, if not July, August. But you think about the draft happening this month, a team like New Orleans has a lottery pick. So presumably, if New Orleans does get involved, that lottery pick is going to be on the table. You've got other teams. New York has multiple first-round picks. If New York wants to get involved, I mean, the Knicks with Tibbs and Leon Rose, they are going to strike at some point. It may not necessarily be Ben Simmons. I don't know if Philadelphia and New York would make a deal just with that rivalry, but like New York has multiple first-round picks. There are other teams with multiple first-round picks if they want to get involved. So with the draft happening here in about less than 4 weeks, yeah, I mean, sometime over the next 4, 5, 6 weeks. And I'm with you, Judd. Like, I think it's when, not if. I don't know how Philadelphia runs this thing back. I think they need to make a move. We have the news that Ben Simmons won't play in Tokyo for Australia. He's going to stay stateside, work on his skill development, So, I mean, that lends me to think even more so that, okay, like there's a reason for him not to head to Tokyo, to not put his body on the line, that change is likely to come. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's in the next handful of weeks. I mean, we've already seen one transaction, one trade with Kemba Walker being moved by Boston. all the GMs, all the, front office personnel just are getting back to their cities from being in Chicago for the last 7, 8, 9 days for the combine. Then some of these pro days, the last few days, inevitably trade talks were happening. So, yeah, I mean, this is when things are starting to pick up. So, yeah, I mean, it makes logical sense that if a trade does happen, and you and I are on the same page on that, Judd, it's when, not if, that it happens sometime in the next handful of weeks.
One of the many websites and platforms that picked up Doogie's reporting on this was PhillySportsNetwork.com. And they had 3 potential trades between the Sixers and the Timberwolves. And one of them was a 3-team deal involving the Raptors. And it would I mean, it had a bunch of moving parts, but Kyle Lowry would wind up being the 3-point shooting guard that Philadelphia sort of covets. I mean, he's like 34, 35 years old, but it wound up with Ben Simmons landing on the Timberwolves without the Timberwolves giving up Cat, Ant, or D'Lo. But they had to give up 2 first-round picks, Beasley, Rubio's expiring to the Raptors. I guess my question is there any way the Wolves could acquire Ben Simmons without giving up one of those 3 main core players, Dukes?
I mean, that's the fascinating question, right, Phil? Like, if they do end up striking a deal and it doesn't involve any of those guys, you would have to add the 2022 first, the 2024 first, Jaden McDaniels. I mean, that's a name that hasn't come up. Are you willing to put Jaden McDaniels on the table? Leandro Bolmaro, I think, is coming over here this summer. I mean, my sense is he's definitely coming over this summer. He just had a good final 2-month run with his team in Spain, both in EuroLeague and in the Spanish League. Like, if he were in this draft, my sense is he goes higher than where he went last November. Where did he go last November? The early 20s. I think if he were in this draft, he's more like late lottery, maybe between 15 and 18, if not late lottery. So, I mean, he's an interesting trade chip. I mean, that's what it would entail, though, right, Phil? Like, if Portland puts CJ McCollum on the table, and you're Philadelphia, and you gave Doc Rivers all this money, Joel Embiid, like, the clock is ticking on Embiid with his monster contract, with his injury history. Like, It's hard for me to see Philadelphia accepting a deal where it looks like they are hitting the reset button. So they need immediate help. Now, to me, does Malik Beasley make sense with that Philadelphia roster, that they need shooting help, that Seth Curry can't do it all? Yeah, I think Malik Beasley on the court could absolutely help the Philadelphia 76ers. But, like, to me, you need to give them some immediate help. I also think the idea of a 3-team deal makes more sense than just the Wolves and the Sixers matching up. Kyle Lowry makes a lot of sense, right, with his Philadelphia ties, right? Like, is he either from Philly? He went to Villanova. I mean, he's got Philadelphia ties. I don't know if he's right from the inner city or from the surrounding area, East Coast guy. But, like, Kyle Lowry is Philadelphia, like, through and through. And they had trade interest in him at the deadline. Toronto being at pick 4 looks like a pretty good spot for Jalen Suggs or Jalen Green, where, they can move on from Kyle, but then Kyle in a sign and trade can get the contract that he's desiring. Like, Kyle Lowry in Philadelphia makes a ton of sense. So, like, I like that sort of idea. I'll just say this much. I don't foresee a scenario where Anthony Edwards is going anywhere. And I'll continue to say that the idea to me is to combine Ben Simmons with D'Angelo Russell, that they played together in high school, that there's a bond there, that there's instant synergy there, that the idea is not to send D'Lo out.
Yeah, I love it.
So, like, I don't see a scenario where D'Angelo Russell is leaving with Simmons coming in.
I got my all eyes north. I'm a Wolves off-season speculation stan right now. Just like, and I could listen to Doogie talk about these scenarios for like 20 straight hours, and I would just be drooling the whole time.
But I mean, it's great talk radio fodder, podcast fodder. And, like, I'm telling you, like, I feel uber confident that the Wolves have a lot of trade interest in Ben, but it's not like it's just solely him. We also know this, based on Gerson's on-the-record comments, based on Glenn Taylor's on-the-record comments, based on logic, looking at the Wolves' salary structure, that their path to improving next year is to make a trade or two this summer. That it's not signing a free agent, that now we know they don't at this second have a draft pick. They could always buy or trade for a draft pick. I wouldn't rule out a scenario like that. But right now, as we sit here, they don't have a draft pick. So their path to improvement entails Gerson doing what he loves. I mean, Gerson loves to go big star hunting. So trust me, like that's what he's doing. I'm talking to Chris Finch here in a few minutes. I don't know what the heck he'll say on the record, over Zoom, but I'll certainly ask him about the fascination of this offseason and just how heightened trade talks are right now, coming off all those guys being in Chicago together.
This is so damn juicy. It's great.
Sorry.
Yep.
I'll hit you.
Yep.
There you go. Sorry.
Thank you.
Reckless speculation.
Sorry, my bad.
And Dukes, we touched on this briefly on the bonus scoop on Tuesday, but where do things stand with the sale as well, too? Because I'm sure that's going to go hand in hand with some moves that eventually might be made as things continue to evolve internally as far as who owns this team.
Well, I mean, it's now in a judge's hands. A judge is looking at what Meyer Orbach is throwing out there with his lawsuit, and that hubbub, that back and forth. There's no sense that what Meyer, that litigation is going to throw a wrench in the A-Rod Mark Lowry purchase. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting to me is, I'm not convinced that A-Rod and Lowry have the cash flow right this second. That Mark Lowry's personal wealth, the number's extremely high, but that doesn't mean he has access to all that money immediately. That's why they're buying in only at 20%. That the idea is over the next 2.5 years that they will acquire the money they need and will transition to being majority owners. This is to be the month where the Board of Governors, with their regularly scheduled meeting, I don't have the specific date, but the Board of Governors, they will meet here in the month of July. The idea going back weeks was at this Board of Governors meeting, they would approve the transaction with Alex and Mark. But at this point, with the litigation up in the air, I don't know how you present it to the Board of Governors, just with everything, not settled. So again, I don't have a sense that ultimately this is going to derail the transaction with A-Rod and Lowry, but I'm just not quite sure here in the month of July if the Board of Governors is going to be able to approve things.
Yeah. Real quick, a shout out to our friends at Federated here. I mean, we love ourselves a little Reckless Speculation Thursday.
Reckless Speculation.
May not seem like it, but Federated is also all in on Reckless Speculation Thursday. But what they do is they provide things to help your business to make things less reckless. That's what they do at Federated. So and there's a full list of industries Federated protects on their website, but they provide specialized products and services tailored to your business's needs to make sure that you're covered from a number of different angles. Sleep better at night as a business owner. Find out more at federatedinsurance.com. And remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours.
Reckless Speculation.
One more quick Wolves thing here. Do you sense that they're going to try and get back in the draft? They have no draft picks. I mean, are they going to try and swing something for a late first or a second, or do they not really care at this point?
There's a lot of teams open for business. So, yeah, I mean, I think the idea of them acquiring some pick, I can't tell you if it'll be a first-round pick or a second-round pick, but, yeah, Phil, I feel pretty confident. And, I'm not going to sit here and guarantee that the Wolves are going to end up with a pick, but I feel confident that the idea of acquiring a pick has come up internally. They are hosting a big draft workout next week with all teams invited. In fact, I heard today that Brad Stevens, who now runs the Celtics, has RSVP'd. He'll be in town. But just about every team will have some sort of representation here in town. Upwards of 45 to 50 draft prospects will be in town. I just got to note that Marcus Garrett, the former Kansas Jayhawk stud, he's among players that have RSVP'd.
So they're organizing this just so they can talk trade efficiently with everyone who's showing up, right?
Too. 100%, Phil. Yes. Sing it. Keep singing that.
I mean, it's a great spot. It's like speed dating for trade talks, right? Hey, who do you got?
Genius. Yes, I love this idea that the Wolves concocted with Utah having some saying it as well, that Utah helped form this idea that it's the Jazz and the Wolves. It just so happens that Minneapolis is the spot to be able to bring all the players into town. But when Brad Stevens is here, when, I don't know if Daryl Morey is coming or not. I'll try to find out, but whomever is coming from Philly, yes, you are going to meet face to face. And yes, you're not catching up about, hey, how's your family? You might for a second, but you are talking shop, right? You are talking. You're literally doing your job as a member of the front office. You are going to talk about some other GM's roster and who's available, who's not available.
It's not often we get breaking news during the scoop segment here, boys. But it's a good second because I know Judd has some Jose Berrios questions and some Twins questions that we'll tee up here in a second. But the Twins just sent out a release. It's official. The Matt Shoemaker era is over in Minnesota. Our long national nightmare is over. So Matt Shoemaker winds up among pitchers who've pitched at least 50 innings in a season for the Twins, one of the 3 or 4 worst ERAs. His ERA jumped over 8 for the season last night. I don't know how it almost felt like an Office Space situation, like Milton in the basement. Like they just forgot that he was on the roster and kept collecting paychecks. I don't know how he was still here last night to give up 8 runs, but he did, and now he is gone. He is no longer a Twins player.
Man, that's just a shame. So Dukes, on Berrios, let's turn the page on the shoe show, as I called it last night on Twitter, because it was a shoe show. So Jeff Passan, ESPN, did a really comprehensive, I think it was 20 question and answer Trade Insider yesterday, and he cut to the chase like we probably should. So like Nelson Cruz, Simmons, there's guys who are almost certainly going to be traded, and that's all well and good, but they're going to get you something back, not a lot. But Passan, who I consider to be probably the elite of the elite when it comes to knowing what's going on, wrote what we've been talking about, which is it appears Jose Berrios is available. What can you tell us about that, Doogie? And what's your sense of what the return would have to be? Because they're obviously not dying to trade him, but it appears contractually there is some concern he'd walk after 2022. Where do you think things stand as far as the reality of a Berrios trade before 3 p.m. on July 30th, which is the deadline?
Passan is A+. Ken Rosenthal is A+. Those would be the 2 go-tos. I think everybody, Judd, is available for the right return. Like, I don't think they have an untouchable. I'll continue to say that I will be surprised if Jose Berrios gets dealt. But if Toronto, not many people are talking about Boston, but I can tell you he has fans with the Red Sox. There are others that can use a starting pitcher. Atlanta, the Mets. Heck, would the Angels think about a long-term sort of play with his representation out in Southern California? Like, there's a lot of logical landing spots. But I'm just telling you, after talking to Derek Falvey for a while, what was that, a week or 2 ago? We talked on mic, off mic. I get the sense that he really feels like this is a blip. Like, they can rebound in a significant way in 2022. And if they are to rebound next year. Now, hey, the White Sox aren't going anywhere. The Royals have an unbelievable farm system, at least at the very top, but some of these guys are knocking on the door of helping the major league team. So it won't be easy in 2022, but that Falvey feels like they can rebound in a pretty big way next year. So if you are to rebound next year, I think Jose Berrios is here. I do. And if need be, you look at it a year from now, see where you are, late June, early July of 2022. If you're not in contention at that point, then yeah. I mean, you could still get a decent return 1 year from now for Berrios if you can't come to some sort of long-term agreement this winter. And they've talked to his representation many, many times. They have made multiple offers trying to get him locked up to a long-term deal. They haven't come to a happy medium. It's not a shock that the Twins prefer team-friendly deals. Look at the Polanco extension. Look at the Kepler extension. I guess to some extent, look at the Dobnak extension. But like, they love at least one team option, if not multiple team options. They try to get these guys on their terms. Berrios is not open to signing a long-term deal, mostly on the Twins' terms. So, I don't think a long-term deal is imminent. But I'm just telling you, I think he is here on July 31st. I may be proven wrong. And it's fluid. Like, if Toronto wants to make some new offer 2 weeks from now, I get it. If I get steam on that, great, fine. I'll say as such. But as we sit here on the morning of July 1st, I just don't sense that Berrios is like ready to pack his bags, that some trade is like going to happen real soon.
So, Dukes, you had that conversation with Derek Falvey, and obviously, like, he's going to hope that it's a blip and think that it's a blip and try and look ahead to what they can do in 2022. And And for the record, I have spent the majority of 5 years lauding praise because I think they've done a lot of great work behind the scenes, building up more of a modern front office and scouting department. Obviously, they had the home run record they set 2 years ago, and like there's been a lot of really good things happen, but it's really hard to just dismiss the bad things that have happened this year. I mean, I posted this on Twitter last night. So the Twins have given up the second most runs in baseball as a team. Nearly half of the runs they've given up are credited to Matt Shoemaker, J.A. Happ, Alex Colomé, and Hansel Robles, and Randy Dobnak. 4 of those guys are the Twins' free agent pitching acquisitions from this winter, and Randy Dobnak is the long-term extension. You know, it's not break-the-bank money, but like they said, we really like this guy. Those are the 5 of the worst. Well, Robles has been better than the other ones, but those are 5 of the worst pitchers in baseball this year, all whom the Twins gave their blessing to this offseason. Not to mention some of the other little minor moves, like Lamont Wade Jr. has been really good for San Francisco, and Sean Anderson's been DFA'd by like half the league this year, right? Like all these little things too. So I personally am starting to turn a little bit of a side eye at this Twins front office and some of the things that they whiffed on over the past 12 months. What's your sense of how they feel and just like the mistakes that they've made in the last few months?
I'm still mad about Nick Anderson going back a few years. I'm actually catching up with Nick today.
Yeah.
Get an update on how rehab is going. But like Nick Anderson last year was, in the last 2 years really, has been one of the best relievers in all of baseball. For sure the American League down there with the Rays, Minnesota native. Yeah, I mean, outside of Nelson Cruz, now Josh Donaldson has been good this year, but I don't think you're getting $23 million worth of production from Josh Donaldson. So, like, to me, outside of Nelson Cruz, point to me the good free agent move they've made, this regime. I struggle to find it.
Man, there's been a lot of whiffs. And you know what's unfortunate about it too is they've come in here and they've done a lot of things different behind the scenes that don't show up in like a headline necessarily, but they've beefed up their, like I said, they've beefed up their systems behind the scenes, and that's led to some better play on the field than at the end of the Terry Ryan era. But ultimately, aside from Josh Donaldson, the free agent approach has been very similar to the Terry Ryan, sort of the overarching Pohlad approach to, we're not super comfortable with long-term deals, going to have to twist our arm on that. Short 1- and 2-year deals on bargain bin guys. And, you know, oftentimes you get what you pay for. Matt Shoemaker's a great example of that, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, it goes both ways, though. Like, I would say they got lucky. They offered Kirby Yates a contract. That would have been a disaster, right? They offered Corey Kluber a contract. That would have been a disaster. But then the flip side to that is they did offer Zach Wheeler a contract. He's been lights out. Doesn't mean he would have been lights out here, but he's been so good for the Phillies. They tried on Yu Darvish, who's been good since he signed that contract. Maybe not great, but good. You know, so, you know, they've whiffed on some guys. They tried to sign Craig Kimbrell, you know, and Craig has been a roller coaster with the Cubs, but I think he's been pretty good this year. I mean, he's played a role in Chicago's success this year. They were only willing to do a 2-year deal for Kimbrell. So, I mean, they've tried on a lot of guys, and they've swung and missed. Some good, you know, grateful that they swung and missed. Hell, they had some interest in Marcell Ozuna, right? It was more a leverage ploy to get Cruz to sign, but they actually had some interest in Ozuna. So, you know, it's worked both ways. But, like, I also had this. Like, to me, look at that White Sox roster. How the heck are you going to be better than Chicago next year? Like, to me, it's tough to see the path to the Twins overtaking the White Sox in 2022.
Hey, Dukes, do we think that the patience with Sano has basically run out? Because he right now is a platoon player. Rocco was asked about it again yesterday and very clearly said he ain't hurt, and basically said Kirillov's going to start against righties. Sano will start against lefties. The problem there is Sano splits against southpaws. It's absolutely awful. Do we think that we are seeing the last months of Sano with the Twins because this is just they've finally reached the breaking point with the inconsistency and the plethora of strikeouts?
Well, I think we're going to see what we've been seeing, and I haven't seen the lineup. I don't even know if it's posted for today, but they are facing a lefty.
He'll be in, I think,
with
today.
The White Sox. So, yeah, I mean, I expect Sano to be in the lineup today, but like when you say, Judd, the end of Sano, like who's taking on that contract? I don't think the Twins are just going to eat that contract. So, I mean, I think he's here for a while longer. I mean, if somebody wants to eat even a decent portion of it, and the Twins have to eat a little bit, I'm sure they'd be open-minded to such a scenario. But like, he doesn't have value around the game, So I think it's going to be what we've seen, that he's going to be a platoon guy, that he's not going to play a ton the rest of the way. The other thing to keep in mind is the way Jose Miranda is mashing right now. Off to a nice start with AAA St. Paul. He did play some first base for AA Wichita. That was more out of circumstance. He told us the other day his actual favorite position is second base, but I think maybe long-term he projects more as a third baseman. But it would be interesting if you looked at the possibility of Miranda playing first base, if you think Kirilloff projects better as a corner outfielder.
Yeah. I know you got to go. You got to talk to Chris Finch here, Dukes, and so we'll let you do your A job, and we'll catch you for some more scoops next week.
Take it easy, boys. Have a good one.
Right,
Darren Doogie Wolfson from 5 Eyewitness News and the Scoop Podcast. Inside information about your favorite local sports teams. Just crushes.
His A job, Phil, to be clear, is feeding us scoops. Okay,
let's
be very clear.
Valid
and
point,
the best part, the first scoop is free. After that, he starts charging.
I don't. I
got more scoops. Okay, you have to pay for it now.
I don't scoop for free.
I don't scoop for free.